this morning?
Not too bad. Fresh.
If you could all please be seated. Thank you. So, welcome to the next day of the Star Family Conference. To begin with today, most of you have had the meditation with Michelle and Lionel, and that would have been so lovely. I heard it from outside and felt the vibrations, so it's just lovely. I had some organising to do, but for our first speaker today will be Mary Rodwell. Mary has been an inspiration of mine for many years. I had my own abduction experiences, and which I related last night in my talk, and that very much affected me on many levels. And so I really needed that validation and that support, and that's what I got from Mary so many years ago. So Mary's a guiding light for many in this field, and she's great in how she supports all of us who haven't had support in other areas, in other places. When others don't understand what we go through, it's Mary that we can turn to. So without any further ado, I'll Mary Rodwell.
Thank you, Guy, and thank you, Guy and Michelle, for putting this on too, because this provides not just information, but it also means you can meet one another and connect with one another when you're feeling so isolated and alone. I'm going to take you on a ride this morning. I'm going to start out with some very, what I call putting things into context, and then I'm going to take you on a ride, and it'll take you into other realms, which is why you're here, or you wouldn't be here anyway. I think the most important thing for me when I first met my first gentleman that walked through the door and said, Mary, there's no support groups for this. For this, they just think you're crazy, you're a loony. And I honestly thought it was a very rare experience until I got into it, and 3,000 cases later, I realised that this is not rare at all, that it's everywhere. And, you know, the numbers of people and the kinds of people are, you know, people that you meet in the supermarket, the people that you meet when you go to the doctors, the people you meet when you're taking your kids to school. It is everywhere, and it's not just one kind of person. It's all cultures, it's all ages, it's all generations, it's all beliefs, and it really doesn't matter what your profession is. When you're ready, what happens is you wake up. I'm going to talk about that today. And I'm also going to talk about the children, because the children are really an upgrade in many ways, and I want to share some of their stories. So without further ado, let's get started. And I want to start off with, as I say, you know, all of you know about the bright lights in the sky. And the thing is that it's not just about the bright lights in the sky, as you well know. That's just part of the waking up when you start to see, or you know, take video or whatever. But it's a really good, tangible way of understanding that something else is going on our planet. One of the fascinating things is that many researchers, scientists as well now, are beginning to understand that we are multidimensional in nature. And one of the lovely things that Dr. Rudy Shield, who I met first in 2010, said this: UFOs get here much faster than the speed of light and allow their alien visitors to interact with us in a variety of ways. It's been confusing because the craft can be different and the beings can be different. It simply suggests there are a great many civilizations out there. Now remember, this is an astrophysicist saying this. Basically, all stars in our galaxy host a family of planets, much like our own. So what article of religious faith would it take to say life emerged on only our planet when there are billions available? And that's the bottom line, really. So how do we understand it from a scientific perspective? Finally, science is coming to the party of metaphysics, and it's saying you can understand it. It is a spiritual thing. And what he's saying here is the quantum universe supports information transfer from mind to mind. The speed of thought far exceeds the speed of light, and the quantum hologram formulation sensibly explains and allows for all these modern miracles. And by that, he's meaning near-death experiences, past lives, telepathy, remote viewing, precognition, crop circles, astrology, orbs, balls of light, ghosts, fairies, déjà vu, UFO sightings and encounters and levitation. All of those things can be explained scientifically through the quantum hologram. So, a modern perspective, human origins, gods or gods? And I think this is where so many people have been confused. And I think it's time that, we brought it into a modern context here. These are the images from way past in our history. Look at what we've got here. We've got, at the top here, we've got UFOs on cave drawings. We've got the Wandjina of the Aboriginal here, and these look like other kinds of space men or what have you. We've got the Vimanas in India, for example. So are they, in fact, miracles or advanced technology? I think this one rather amuses me, and you can see why, perhaps. We've really got to get with the program. Okay. Gods or extraterrestrials? This one's a really interesting one with the Lord Ganesha. This telephone from the Pleiades, from a lady called Jane. And it was so fascinating. Last time I showed this PowerPoint, I had another lady tell me she'd seen beings like this and thought she was going a bit crazy. So there are many, many different forms of beings, and it is as many as we can possibly imagine, and even more. Here's another one. This being here, seen by a 9-year-old girl in Europe, calling her one of her guides and teachers, a blue being with no hair and no ears. Now look at this. Krishna, blue skin, and this is a very interesting shape, isn't it? That's just above Krishna there. Star beings. Martin Law in Ireland, a lovely gentleman in his 70s, said he always had to draw his star beings with rainbow colours and also a strange script, which he doesn't know how he manages to draw it, but it comes through him spontaneously. And I'm going to talk about what I call the expressions of contact, where people start to manifest all sorts of unusual creative things, and I believe there's a purpose to all of it. So lots of different kinds of beings, lion, feline, grey beings, and when somebody says they've seen a grey, they may be talking about one of 165 species of grey. So you can't say, pick one out and say that's what all the greys are about, because it's like taking a human being off this planet and saying all humans are like this one. It isn't the same. Humanoids, grey types, the Nordics, very, very common, but this one's from Sirius, this being. These are blue humanoid beings. These ones are drawn by a lovely young lady you're going to hear this morning, I think, Lee Capitilli. She's going to show you some more of her drawings and her interaction, conscious interaction with many different civilizations. Very, very important, and she's actually in the book, The New Human, that I've written as well. Life on Stars of the Milky Way. This is a drawing by an Aboriginal lady, and what I love about it, she gave it to an experiencer in Alice Springs, and look what she's saying here. The planets are half a day's journey, the beings are very friendly, and just watch the Aboriginal way of life. They have no guns, spears or weapons. The air on their planet is food. Their green uniforms protect from Earth's diseases. The space people speak all languages. The elders say the space people showed them how to grow food, find water, and showed them how to use amethyst stones for healing. So this is more of understanding the bigger picture. This is from, this one here is from South Africa, interesting beings visiting there. This is a mantid being, very well known, called the Mumu in Australia. But in South Africa, the Hosa called the mantid being the one who teaches and point to the sky. The Bushman legends, the mantis was the god who came down from heavens to share knowledge with mankind. So this is putting it into context, which we must have to understand why they're here. Here's some more images that may just get you thinking. This is, you saw yesterday with Even Strong, the skulls that are being found now that are not from binding. These are not, they found fetuses with the same shaped skulls, completely different. And here we've got the Pharaohs of Old with the really strange hats, or are they just hats to cover something that's a different kind of shaped skull? Well, there's a lot more about that. I'm really just giving you a baseline here. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Hold on, guys. I don't know what happened. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so here you've got another skull here. We were created by extraterrestrials. Tracy Taylor's a wonderful young lady, who's an artist experiencer. She's in both my books because I always valued this young lady's awareness. And she said, one night before sleep, I wrote in a process where I had little control, something beyond my understanding, contrary to everything I'd been taught. It said the human race had been created by extraterrestrials and contained genetic manipulation of human and extraterrestrial DNA to create another species. So we need to look at that, because I'm going to show you a little bit of the evidence that suggests this is so. Dr. William Brown's a molecular biologist, and he said historical evidence of genetic manipulation points to extraterrestrial intervention, the missing link. Human DNA molecules fused together does not happen naturally. Many indicators of genetic manipulation of advanced technology will be used to remodel the genomes, and this is really tied into why they're visiting us. We have 223 genes that no other species on this planet has that are a sideways insertion of genetic material, and it's all related to higher psychological functioning. It wasn't in Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal man. We had the missing link, and we gained twice the brain size, and we also then had these 223 genes. So, what is that saying? Dr. Francis Crick, co-founder of the DNA Molecule, said this, and it's very fascinating because, you know, when you think of his credentials, very powerful in the whole molecular biology field. And he says this: the immensity of complex coded, precisely sequenced information is staggering. The DNA evidence speaks of intelligent information-bearing design. They program the molecules so that when we reached a certain level of intelligence, we would be able to access their information, and they could therefore teach us about ourselves. Very interesting. Now, what we have to understand with that is not only is in our DNA have we got more information that I'm going to demonstrate with you with some of my that I'm going to talk about today. We have to know that the belief that we get when we come to this planet is coming from our programming. And the problem with that is it's often an inaccurate one. So even if you come in very aware of your multidimensional reality, you are very quickly shut down, especially in Western society. We find that anything that's beyond what we can see, hear, smell, and etc., we're told it's not real. And that's very, very important in terms of belief. And this is a demonstration of that. This lovely gentleman that I came across, Luther Burbank, is a botanist. And what he actually did was he realized there was more than one way that we react to words and frequencies. And I'm going to talk about frequencies because this is all where this is how we are going to change. He talked to his plants, and I know a lot of you that are probably very much into gardening will understand that. But what he discovered was that with the cactus, he was saying to the cactus, you don't need your spines because I'm not going to hurt you. And he ended up with spineless cacti because on some level they were intelligent and sentient enough to actually understand what he was saying. So everything is sentient is what I'm really trying to say here. But getting back to DNA, one of the things I wanted to say is why are these intelligences visiting us? And one of the main ones is our DNA. This 13-year-old from Canada drew this picture of this being with this strange kind of stick-like object, and he said, I felt these beings were like scientists and were curious about us. I was told it was something to do with genetics. Now this is the key, and this is where I want to go with this. So what I'm going to show you today is I'm taking you down a bit of a rabbit hole. And we've talked about the evidence of Homo sapiens and our ancestors intelligently designing us. We also know that we have junk DNA, DNA that doesn't appear to be active. Nobody knows what it is, and it's 90 to 95% of what we are. We only have active 5% maximum. What is the rest for? Nobody really knows. But we also, I'm going to talk about how DNA is multidimensional and works through miniature wormholes to access quantum information, which is the quantum hologram. It can be programmable, and epigenetics also demonstrates that we can be conditioned and affected by human experience. And also it's applicable to all species, both animals and plants, and has the ability to transform itself. So what is there about DNA that maybe most of you may or may not be aware of? Russian scientists have come across the information that DNA actually creates miniature wormholes into the quantum hologram, or if you like, the quantum reality. DNA can cause disturbing patterns in a vacuum, producing magnetized wormholes, tunnel connections between entirely different areas of the universe through which information can be transmitted outside of space-time. That's how intuition works. That's how clairvoyance works. That's how your multidimensional self works. So it can pass lies, spontaneous healing, crop circles, all of those things are coming from this quantum universe, which we can access and understand from that level. What I want to say to you is that in ufology, which has been a lot of my work, people coming to me with experiences, wanting to understand, feeling very alone, feeling very isolated, and saying, how can we understand this? And the trouble with ufology has been this, is that a lot of the researchers, they want to know about the craft, they want to know how big it is, they want to know how many saw it, they want to know the pictures, they want to see the ground traces and all the rest of it. All what we call the nuts and bolts. But the problem with that, it's given us no answers. Yes, it said they're visiting us, it says that things are happening, but it doesn't tell us why. And that's been my big problem, because as a therapist, people come to me, they're seeking answers. They want to know why me? What's it all about? Why do they want me particularly? And this is the area that we've needed to go in, and we haven't done it with the nuts and bolts, because there's no answers in just proving, yes, it's real, unless you know why. So I belong to an organisation that goes beyond UFOs, and it goes into the whys, and it does it through many, many special surveys that we've done, 600 questions, over 4,000 individuals, and we're getting a lot of answers now that are explaining the why. So we're going into all the other part of this experience that the experiencer themselves have. But, ufology struggled with, because you can't quantify it in the same way. But we know that everyone is having these kinds of experiences as well. And that's everything from perceiving spirits, having out-of-body experiences, having a shamanic experience, healing experiences or healed by the beings, having heightened intelligence, knowledge of a range of subjects which I'm going to talk about, heightened multidimensional senses, telepathy, clairvoyance, past life recall, moving objects with the mind, telepathic abilities, and expressions of contact. What are those? Light languages, creating special downloads of music, artwork. What is all of this, and how is it tied to these beings, is what I'm going to discuss with you today. So we're going into the realm of the multidimensional human. So awakening and activation, why are these beings taking us all those different ways? And you may have your interactions after a shamanic experience, maybe ayahuasca. You may have it through a near-death experience. 40 to 50% of those surveyed said they woke up to interacting with non-human beings after a near-death experience. So what it is all these are ways that we are triggered or act as a catalyst to wake us up to more of our multidimensional nature. So it's not just UFOs, guys. So let's have a look at a scientist who's saying this about her multidimensional experiences. She's had near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, past life recall, shamanic experiences, healing as a healer and healed by non-human intelligences, scientific intuitive understanding of loading and energizing water, an understanding of the new human, which she calls letter people, which is people with Asperger's, ADHD, dyslexia, and some forms of autism. New programs, new wiring, and I'm going to tell you why we think this is. These are some of the experiences she had. There's not just talking about little greys here. This is talking about a multi-way of dealing in a, if you like, really not only the multiverse, but the many types of consciousness that are in that multiverse. So look at what she's interacted with. A monk, Buddha-like being, fairy beings, water spirits, Native American guardian, shadow people, orbs, water spirits, eagle man, flat skull beings. This is a range of, you know, what we call cosmic intelligences that have been interacting with her. The mantis was the one that said it's time to her. And she said, she was actually saying, I want to know if I was on track and if I should come out and give me a sign. So should I come out and share this publicly in Sweden, to come out as a professional scientist and say you're having experiences like this is professional suicide? And I could go into some of the experiences that I had when I was in Scandinavia. But she asked for guidance and she asked her mantid being, should she come out? She said, I suffered with severe dislocation of my atlas vertebra, causing discomfort. Spontaneously, the vertebra rotated by itself into the correct position. I can now swallow without pain. I called this my sign, so I'm coming out as promised. So she said it was important for her now to get that validation. So here is a healing experience that she had.
I woke up staring right into the lower body of a small being. I raised my head and upper body from the bed and leaned my head into my right hand. Immediately I focused my eyes on places in the room, and wondered what this being looked like. I left my body and went to those places in above and behind the being. I could see my body from above, felt so happy, and then I slowly lowered myself down into my body. When I was back and in control of my body, I leaned forward towards the being. He was still standing, healing me with his eyes shut, and I could see the soft glow from the fabric in his suit and every fiber in it.
Very fascinating account. She has had many healings, and I know there's, you know, we know now 40 to 50% through our surveys that people have had healings by the beings and also become healers. And here is the same being drawn by another lady in Queensland, a cone-headed being, the same buckle, exactly to what Lena, Dr. Olson, was describing as well. And also the scripts. And I want to take you into what that might be about as well, because many start doing symbols, scripts, and speaking strange languages, as I said. So this one is another very special lady that came to my notice a few months ago, and I'm going to show you how she does the healing. And I want to say, really, what's really important here is this. She had a terminal autoimmune disease, was told that she had 3 months to live, and was sent home to die. She was visited by 2 angelic beings and experienced a bright light and symbols coming into her, and felt amazing love. And from that time she was healed by the light beings that now guide her to what to eat, etc. She does healing with a force inside her which guides her movements and voice. She has since had 2 more children, and one refused to eat. He only drank milk until he was 4 years old, because he told her telepathically human food was not good for him. He never gets sick and says he's learning to be human. This is one of the new ones. So just look at how Kaza heals. Oh, we need the sound, please. I should have told you there's another video. I'll start it again so that we can... Oh, I can start it again. Okay? So healing with the beings can happen in many ways. They can often come in or be with you. They can download information into you and you can act as a conduit. So we're talking about working multidimensionally here. Working on energy fields and the biological body. In one of my DVDs that I have, Communications and Healing, another young lady, Rochelle D'Elia, is doing a similar thing. Talking about actually using frequencies and some of these languages that actually activate the DNA and actually work at a molecular level. So we're talking about frequencies, strange as it might be to some of you to see this, but it's about frequencies. And there's many people doing this now. Although they, you know, for a lot of those unused to this, it may look very, very strange. But what we're really seeing here is assistance by these beings and frequency. Frequency through the language and frequency through the energy that you're bringing in as a healer. Whether you're doing Reiki or something like that, you're pulling in these energies. So strange as it may seem, that's what you're seeing here. And she's doing some wonderful work and very courageous, because these are the kinds of things not everyone is prepared to acknowledge that they do. Oh, not again. Come on, guys. What's happening here?
Ordinarily, we all did the same.
Oh, what is going on here? Come on, guys. Oh, there we go. All right, so let me just check where I am. That's that one. Okay. One of the surveys, just to show you how much we're getting corroboration that this is working, 42% had healing by non-human beings, just like Kaza. 42. This is out of 4,000 individuals surveyed. And look what's being said here. I feel grateful that my children are having these experiences. My children very seldom become ill, because when they do, the ETs have provided my children with healing. I have awakened on several occasions to sense beings in the room, only to be put back to sleep rather quickly. I saw beings dropping symbols of energy into our bodies, and on one occasion witnessing a small black triangular healing device upon the bed towards my son's side. So symbols that are being brought through by the children, by the adults, that suddenly find themselves manifesting them, have a purpose, have an energy, have a frequency. This is what this particular one here is by a young man I'm going to show you speaking a light language in a minute. His name's Antonio. And there we go, hold on, which is this one here. And he's done many. So let me just, I don't know what's happened to Nikola Tesla on the other side here, but he was a vegetarian, believed he had contact with non-human beings. And this is what Tesla said. Our entire biological system, the brain and the earth itself, work on the same frequencies. Frequencies is a key to a lot of this. The human DNA has the ability to transform, and this is really important here, because this is what Dr. Olson is saying. The information of the donors and their background is there, a hidden key, like a PC programmer. They hide their work. The key can be activated, and these programmers know the person is ready to be contacted. So if you've been contacted, you're ready on some level. The activated ones spread a signal to wake the others up. So as you get activated, you're activating others. So this is how it works. I feel they're speeding this up. So here's some more of the symbols that Antonio's done. So what are we looking at here? An evolutionary gateway activating human consciousness, communication with galactic and interdimensional intelligences, multidimensional education, encounters by numerous non-human intelligences, physical contactee via spacecraft, out of body, downloads of compressed data, dreams, music, art, star languages, codes, crop circles, all of those are part of the activation. This is another one here. So activation is about hyper-communication. It should be borne in mind that the nature of extraterrestrial communication, in a majority of instances, star visitors communicate with humans by telepathic transfer of mental images, concepts, rather than words and speech. Everything's made up of the same matter, resonating at different harmonics. So the ETs are able to communicate with us, directing thought on subatomic levels, and so activate subconscious. These symbols are meant to communicate the nature of the macrocosm. That's by Tracy Taylor. Okay, so DNA is not just controlled by the biocontainer, but by the mind and the soul. Very important information from Dr. Olson. What she's saying about the body is partly controlled to the DNA, the crystalline formation with encoded messages. DNA is not just a responder to different frequencies coming through the cell via different types of material. The frequencies are from many origins. Some of them might be aimed specifically at halting or speeding human evolution. They travel through the body and hit the DNA like fingers hit the keys of a piano. So it's one of three parts, and how the other two are mind and soul. The soul is the energy container which moves the body from body to body between lives and worlds. So we're talking about a complex understanding of who we are. Now I'm going to let you speak hear this light language from Antonio, although you're going to see him speak again in a minute. But this language is more accurate representation of an individual soul vibration. This is actually Arcturian. For those of you that are aware of your origins, you might actually find this connects to you.
Summa taka parakatika sakata sita taka summa taka retika taka jinga taka tumsa hoko jingo taka parakatin sakata parakatin sita taka mata so ringa taka paraka rikingi ka ko taka parakatika singa.
This is one of his symbols. The scripts. When Antonio did this, he was 17 years old. He comes from New Zealand. And I'm going to show you two other of the light languages that are in this film here, E.T. Contact, they're here by Caroline Corey. The reason that I want to show you is that what Caroline's put together is scientists. She's shown how energy works on DNA. And she's also got two young men that are in the book, my book, The New Human. One of them is called Zach, who's in chapter 9 and 10, and Antoni is in chapter 11, talking about their contact, their understanding of who they are. And I want to show you that, a little clip of this film. Let's do it. Go.
Suaset eleaka e suluuntuk ewe elo ammana e salaam at elo ala onkis susumma e tala elo lo tu kishisea elo atsa osare tammana e kuleate sushase e omano tu kiawa art et sunumu et ula kitsesa ese salatu shasan. It doesn't exactly translate into English. The key to this language is that it's not transmitting data verbally through the mind, it's transmitting images through the voice. And dolphins do the same thing. Dolphins can transmit pictures to each other of what they're seeing through sonar.
There have been times where I have spoken a language that is very representative of a particular civilization or a particular group of beings, and when I would speak it, they would be there on the other side, listening and sending back information.
Can you give a message that you feel is important in the star language? That's unique.
Yeah. All right. I'll try this. Okay. Ora satakaya no tutia taka inna takatur itakaina tututi takain moto te takandar yututi takan titi takotai ash takotam itakai umma takaya tukui takaya umma takai bote aya nansia
One of the cases that was interesting to me was the mother wrote to me saying that her daughter had reacted to some of the star languages that she'd seen on YouTube. And the daughter said, but I can speak those languages too. And she said to her mother, there's three of them, but one of them heals water. When I speak of water, I can purify the water. And the mother told me that the water actually tasted differently. So there's a purpose to these languages, because as a therapist, I was really quite amazed at this phenomena and thinking, well, what is it? Why do they suddenly manifest these strange abilities or these strange languages or artwork? There must be a reason. You know, logically there must be a reason. And for me, it's been trying to work out the puzzle and to see what actually is going on when this all happens. There's a 9-year-old that was speaking star languages to water, and was told her mum that one of them actually heals water. And this was, you know, interesting. Her guide, she told her mum, was blue, no hair or ears, human eyes but bigger. My friends are here all the time. It's dangerous, she said, to come and help here because memories can be deleted at birth or by education or drugs. The star languages are from a place outside of the universe. The healing words and ET languages heal water. And of course we do know, through those of you who are aware of Masaru Emoto's work, that frequency actually changes the nature of water. We know it through intention, through prayer, through music. So it really isn't that strange, is it? It's just another frequency and what have you. And Dr. Olson, as a molecular biologist, being a scientist, she said this: I have no problem with this. The spiral formations I've been working with water are loading energy back into water, helps healing, recharging, strengthening the energy field and the aura, whatever it's pointed out. Healing works on a cellular level, whether you believe it or not. The healing from my hands affected the protein binding to the gene P53, which plays a role in turning genes on and off. So here we're getting the clues. The human body is made up to almost 75% water. If star language frequencies can alter the nature of water, what effect may they have on the human body and DNA? So this is where we start to get clues. Dr. Marie Batchelor is an MD who had an activation in India and now works as a multi-dimensional healer. And she works with activating the DNA. And what was fascinating was that here she's going from, you know, being in the conventional world and then finding through this galactic frequency that she experienced in India and the downloads, she now works on activating DNA. And this is what she's saying. When someone says to me, I hear you've gone spiritual, I respond. Actually, this is a reality. It's a quantum reality. It's science. We're talking science. I'm aware that I'm getting into the DNA and it's actually subatomic. I feel intuitively we're changing from carbon-based to crystalline. DNA is changed by frequency. I believe the new children are already activated, and I'm going to get to the children in a minute. So lots of different kinds of strange writing. And what we have to understand is everything is an activator. What we see visually, what we hear, all of those have a frequency. The purpose of the symbols and languages that do not seem to be of earthly origin. I've come to realize they produce brain activity similar to meditation. The understanding I was given by the beings, the language contains particular vibrational frequencies that assist with awakening and clearing the pineal system. They assist in awakening, clearing the system and access to cosmic frequencies, remembrance, deep transformation and healing. This was Giselle Deila that, like Kaza, is doing a similar kind of thing. So you're not getting the odd person here and there now. We're getting many healers that are starting to do this. And the light languages are from the star origins, they say, that can trigger awareness or an awakening in human DNA. And Rochelle is saying, I work to align the frequencies. The sounds, languages are for the souls to recognize their lives on other planets. I work to retune, like you'd use a tuning fork for a musical instrument. And I do this by bringing in the frequencies the person most needs. So that's how it's working. And as a, former nurse midwife, I want to know, actually, how does this work? What is going on? So we can understand it from multiple levels. Healing being healed. Now I'm just, I've got more coming in here of Casa. Hold on a minute. I think you've seen that. Sorry, I think you've seen that, but I want to explain this to you. The voice, the chant, a vibration that connects with the subconscious for healing is also an old language shamans use when in trance. The energy comes through my crown and spine and then my body, then my voice. While this is happening, I stand aside, also learning. I do not always translate. I also use tools like crystals and herbs. And then she said, the two beings, as I say, I mentioned before, they came in and healed her and changed her life in a completely different way. Now this is interesting. We're getting back into frequencies again. This is an 11-year-old boy whose mother wrote to me from Western Australia, and she said that he plays the piano, but sometimes there's a being this one here. He feels really close, and he tells his mum he's got a song. And with that song, he's saying the being's coming in and playing it with him. And he plays a whole range of songs. One of them was called Decoding DNA. One is Meditation, Going Within Yourself. One's called Arrival. So he channels them primarily from this being. And at no time does Arthur practice them. He named each song before playing it as though he knew what was coming next. And he said, these songs I need to give to people to wake them up. So we've got an 11-year-old, and I'm going to play you just a little bit of it, because I've got a lot to show you. I've got a lot to show you, so I can't let you listen to any more. If you want to hear more of that, let me know. Ilyanouka, because what I have had to do as a researcher, right, does anyone else have this kind of experience? Yes, there happens to be a lady that I connected with several years prior to this young man, and this is a lady that's a celebrated violinist. She's written One Life, Many Worlds. She's interacted with many different types of beings. Her book is amazing. She's not your traditional UFO contactee in that sense at all. She also downloads artwork, and she had her first experience with otherworldly beings 6 years old in post-war Japan. And she said, nobody wants to hear my story because it's not the classic UFO one. But what was fascinating is everything that this other young man, Arthur, experienced, she experienced. And she said this, I believe Arthur's contacted by the aliens or master musical spirits. It's amazing composition, it's genius. Now remember, she's a musician. The first one is combined with a few bars of Beethoven's music. She said this, my alien experiences happened also in childhood, went far beyond. When I was overtaken by the entity, I felt something similar to what he was saying. I received amazing power, but I was left drained and crashed. And apparently Arthur says the same. After he's done it, he has to rest because he's quite tired. Now you're going to find this one quite interesting. This is from China. She's been speaking, translating, painting, playing instruments, writing poems. This Chinese lady dreamt of a person playing some kind of instrument above the cloud. The name of the music was Please Welcome My Friend. When she awoke, she wanted to play the piano but didn't have one. At her friend's house, she was surprised she could play the piano. And I want you to watch this because it's really quite unusual. But that's not all. You see, it's global, and this is what I want you to understand. I got these from a researcher in China, said, you're the only person I can send this to because most other researchers won't even look at it. But what's it doing? It's someone who's been given information or understanding or is a conduit for information and frequency, and it's coming through music. Another lady who speaks the light language, I won't play hers now because I've got some more to show you. But what she's saying about her light language is what she does a lot of different symbols like this, many, many different types. And this is what she's saying, light formulas and cosmic language transmissions. It's hard for me not to sing them, so singing for her is the frequency. It's an integral part of the transmission. The languages carry billions of bits of information in a bridge format. Human language is linear. Speaking, singing, light language feels spiral and wave-like. Sensation of being awash with layers of knowing that is understood but cannot be articulated in a linear word string. This is felt. It's felt from other levels of your consciousness, and that is how it's understood. These children are now doing scripts. This little boy, and they're two different boys. My 5-year-old wrote this script, and she said, to help me, the mother says, understand. Another little 4-year-old didn't know what it meant, but it means something. So the children are manifesting a lot of these strange things. This was a young man who wrote to me from England. He started at 3 years old doing the script up here. And he said, 3 times a week I'd be woken by a glow, a woman with long blonde hair, green eyes, no beam me up Scotty. We would be in a room, walls that were metallic when touched ripple like water. A window-like plasma screen showed stars, nebula and symbols, when put in the correct order would show me things. And he put a lot of the symbols on his body because he wanted others to recognize them. And he said when certain things happened on the planet, some of them would start to highlight themselves. So these are all parts of the phenomena. Now, artwork is being manifested by many contactees or people having experiences that have the talent. And this is an amazing woman who's got enormous, beautiful artwork. And this is what she's saying. One young man who wrote to me, who's an artist himself, said he does his art because he came from another dimension, and it actually triggers perception. And he stated, art is a conduit for new perceptual information accessing other dimensions. I can't give you his name because he's Australian, but what he's saying is this. I feel I'm mapping other dimensions that exist, like telling a story. There are patterns and I feel like they're put together like a map. The shapes speak to me sometimes. It's almost like I can read them. Certain sounds make shapes within my painting. It changes the people's perceptions who view them, opens their minds. There's also information and they will get energy from it. And I've written his story in The New Human. The artwork's by Ceci Caholan, who lives in New York. And I want to talk a bit more about her artwork in a minute. But this is artwork from China. Looks like star maps, doesn't it? This is a farmer. And they always say in Chinese they're uneducated. When they're uneducated, it's very important to let you know. And what I think is wonderful about being uneducated is you're not programmed. So I think they're just, more open. Never taught art or painting. No idea what she's speaking, but the language appears to feel random and she calls it a universal language. Painting a one-line string, complex, some like star maps, biological structure. She's never sold them, hoping someone will understand. I want to show you a little picture of her demonstrating them. Lots of drawings, many of them she's done. And a lot of them, what she means by universal, she now takes the pen off the picture the whole time she does the picture. This is done by a 12-year-old in China. And you start to see a pattern here. I'm hoping you're starting to see a pattern. These are done by Ceci, this beautiful lady in the front here, who wrote to me. She's done over 100 types of paintings, and this is what she's saying she understands. This one up here, I showed this to a couple of experiences, and one of the ladies burst into tears and said, that's the planet I come from. I feel I'm in a school with higher intelligences instructing and teaching me. It's opened my mind to bigger picture, biology, neurology, physics, astronomy, astrophysics, theology, philosophy, spirituality, technology, anthropology and archaeology. I feel I'm in a school of higher intelligences and they're instructing me. It has awakened me to higher consciousness. These are Tracy Taylor's images, and she did each one of these in 10 minutes without any conscious thought. And this is what a decoder says. And this is an artist who I know very well. She's an amazing lady. She seems to go into portals just by looking at them. And this is what she said. It's amazing, I'm going somewhere else. A portal entrance, it's like I'm not here. but can be between both places at the same time, like the ability to go there and be with them. And this is what Leonardo da Vinci created, the same portal. They're working with me through the pictures. The matrix, it's downloading to people's subconscious. They're full of compassion, just like us, we are they. So this is some understanding now of what is going on, if you know, it makes sense to you. What is interesting here is another gentleman who was a psychotherapist when I was in Probe in Blackpool in England some years ago.